Let's not dance around the issue. Let's not pretend everything is fine, because it's not. The Miami Dolphins are staring at a quarterback dilemma that cannot, under any circumstances, be brushed aside as if it's not an existential crisis waiting to explode in their faces. Tua Tagovailoa, a name that sparks debate, ignites passions, and, let's be real, keeps everyone in Miami on edge. Is he talented? Without question. Can he run this offense at a high level? Absolutely. But does anyone trust that he will be available for an entire season when it matters most? That's where the conversation gets uncomfortable. And that's why ignoring every possible option at quarterback this offseason would be nothing short of negligence. Enter Joe Milton III. Yes, the same Joe Milton who was sitting quietly in New England, a sixth-round draft pick, an afterthought, until he wasn't. One game. That's all it took for people to start whispering, raising eyebrows, reevaluating what they thought they knew. Because in that season finale against the Buffalo Bills, Milton showcased something that Miami desperately needs in its quarterback room: upside. Here's the deal. The Dolphins don't just need a body at quarterback. They don't need a clipboard holder. They need an answer. Or at the very least, a plan for an answer. Right now, they don't have one. Yes, Tua is locked in for 2 years. But let's not act like that means anything beyond the ink drying on his contract. A long-term extension? A face of the franchise commitment? That conversation hasn't happened for a reason. Miami's front office isn't blind. They know what's at stake. So what's the move? A veteran backup? Sure, but that's a temporary bandage, not a solution. A quarterback in the 2025 NFL draft? Maybe. But let's not kid ourselves. This isn't exactly a legendary class. The options aren't great. And that brings us back to Milton. No one is saying Joe Milton III is a sure thing. If he were, he wouldn't have been picked in the 6th round. He wouldn't be floating around trade rumors right now. He wouldn't be an afterthought in New England's grand plan. But that's the point. Because if you're looking for a quarterback outside the 1st round who has any shot of becoming a legitimate NFL starter, you aren't going to find one who checks every box. You have to be willing to take a gamble. And Milton, he's exactly the kind of gamble that makes sense. Elite arm strength? Check. Athleticism? Check. The kind of raw talent that could, with the right coaching, turn into something special? Check. There's no guarantee he ever reaches his ceiling. But there's also no denying that his ceiling is something worth chasing. Because when you're a team like Miami, with a quarterback situation as precarious as theirs, the worst mistake you can make is sitting on your hands and waiting for a problem to solve itself. No. You go find answers before the problem finds you. Let's talk about the price tag. A 3rd-round pick. That's what Greg Bedard suggests Milton could command in a trade. A 3rd-round pick. Now, let's take a deep breath and think about what that means in real terms. The Dolphins, for all their draft capital misadventures in recent years, still have 2 third-round picks in 2025 thanks to the compensatory selection from Robert Hunt's departure. And history? History tells us that spending a 3rd-round pick on a player who might become a viable NFL quarterback is a far better use of resources than, say, drafting another linebacker who barely sees the field outside of special teams duty. Channing Tindall. Anyone remember that name? Miami spent a 3rd-round pick on him in 2022. 3 seasons later, he's been a non-factor, a depth piece, a guy who might not even be on the roster in another year or 2. That's the reality of mid-round picks. Most of them don't pan out. So if you're telling me that Miami could take a swing at a quarterback with freakish arm talent, who has already shown flashes at the NFL level, and all it would cost is a 3rd-round pick, you make that move every time. Now, let's acknowledge the elephant in the room. Would Bill Belichick? Oh, wait, my bad. Would New England's front office, because Belichick is gone, remember, actually trade Milton to the Dolphins? Would they hand over a quarterback to a division rival knowing full well that he could come back and haunt them? Maybe not. But here's the thing. The Patriots aren't in the business of keeping quarterbacks they don't need just to be petty. Drake May is their future. They invested the number 3 overall pick in him. They believe in him. Milton, he's a luxury at best, an asset at worst. And when you're a team like New England, trying to rebuild from the ashes of a disastrous season, you don't hold onto assets out of spite. You use them to get better. So yes, they would move him if the price is right. Let's entertain the skeptics for a moment. What if Milton never develops? What if that Buffalo game was a fluke? What if he's just another big-arm quarterback who looks good in workouts but never figures it out on the field? Then Miami moves on.